Hello, it is Fiona here, and you're on the Wanderlust Herbal podcast where we connect people and plants around the world. And I'm really excited today because we have Chris Brandwein here. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay.
We've been planning this for a while, but it never was the right time for some
Yeah.
reason or other. And I'm really excited that it's happening.
Yeah, and we're meeting under a full moon today. And so I am really excited to dive into your story today. We met a few months ago or recently. We're both not not all that good at kind of tracking time in that way. But I really relate to you as a kind of more left and right brained kind of person. You are a scientist as well as a creative, a multi-passionate, and the thing that we connected on was your plant spirit journey, which came about quite suddenly. And I think it had kind of gone by the wayside for a while
Mhm.
until we met in a group online. It was Eva's Soul Led Lab, I believe.
Mhm.
And it sparked a connection, and there was other synchronicities as well, like your connection with Indonesia, and
Mhm.
um, was it your grandfather who had lived there
Exactly. Exactly.
previously?
Yeah.
And you have lived in Southeast Asia as a child
Yes,
as
we
well.
lived in Singapore and also in Pakistan, which is not
Mhm.
Southeast Asia, but yeah.
Yeah, well, fairly in the same realms.
Yeah.
So we can resonate on that multicultural lifestyle and also the plants, although from quite different directions. And you also mentioned that you were quite surprised that the plants came through to you, and that your main
Yes.
inspiration was actually your mother, who tried to teach you about
Mhm.
plants, but it didn't really land with
It was
you.
not successful, no.
I'd love to know a little bit about just, kind of go a little bit further back into your roots, because I'm curious to hear about your mum's relationship with plants, and how you've kind of overcome resistance to that to now fully embracing them in ways that probably most of us can't even fathom. So
Mhm.
please
Yeah,
share.
so my mother has always been a huge plant lover. So her house is full of plants. And we always kind of joked that when we were on any holiday trip, that she takes pictures of all the plants, like all the plants, and she kind of falls into them to get a closer look. And and she had all these plant photograph calendars everywhere, and she just knows all these things about all these plants and all the names and what they do and what they don't do, and 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 birds as well. And I just had zero, like, I did not have that brain area activated. Like you said, I'm a left brain. I'm a left and right. I'm a whole brain person, but that
Yeah,
area just was not activated.
yeah,
And so it was super surprising to me when plants suddenly started speaking to me, because I am really, really a very logical person, right? I've worked in psychiatric research for over 20 years, and
hmm,
it's like, really, it's very hardcore research, right?
yeah,
There is no tiny bit of woo-woo about it. And but then I started getting into intuition and structured intuition, accessing intuition at will. And through that, and I think that was maybe 2 years ago or something like
hmm,
that. And through that, I just opened up to a whole different level of information that can come into my system, right? And like that, yeah, I was just sitting at a party. Actually, I was reading a book that somebody had recommended to me about plant spirit communication, and I was like, oh, that's fascinating, right? And I don't actually remember what the book was called. I need to look it up. But
yeah,
it was this whole complicated process that you had to be fasted, like water fasted, for several days, and you would go into a meditation and communication with a plant, and you would have to hike to the plant, and you would have to sit with the plant. And I was like, oh my God, like, that is too complicated. That does not fit into my life. they have too many things going on. There must be a simpler way. But I didn't spend any time on finding a way how to communicate with them, right? But then I was sitting at this party and suddenly I knew that like parsley had a message for one friend of mine and basil had a message for another friend of mine. And it was
Mm.
so crystal clear, crystal
Mhm.
clear. Your new offer. And that and it had like this, it had an energy of urgency, like it wants to be delivered. When I receive a message from a plant, it wants to be delivered.
Mhm.
And it does not like allow, like my ego says, oh, but this could be hard to land. Like, what if they don't receive it well? Could I say it like
Mhm.
this? Or maybe can
Mhm.
I tweak it like that? Just a little bit, like just to make it a little more soft, maybe sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, but they're like, no, this is it. This is it. Hold attention. This is it. It will land with them. They need to hear exactly this. And mostly they're very, very gentle, but some,
Mhm.
especially for repeated clients
Mhm.
or clients that are further ahead in their spiritual journey where they can kind of take more, the plants can be like they can have challenging messages. And
Mm.
so I get to hold the tension and it's
Amazing.
very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you said basil and parsley. So the plants are speaking to you. So, you were contrasting that with hiking out to meet the plant and fasting for
Yes.
days. But in your case, they're literally just popping into your mind.
Exactly.
And the plants aren't necessarily there.
Oh, at all.
No, it's just
At
like,
all.
hello, I'm Basil.
Exactly.
I need you to say this to this person.
Exactly. And the
Right.
funny thing is that like I said, I'm not a plant person. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know so many plants.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just get a picture and it's like
Mm-hmm.
um sometimes when somebody asks me for a plant reading or when, like when a new client comes in or something, it's like those, do you know those old Rolodex, I think they're called, when you
Mm-hmm.
just flip through, is it this? Is
Yep.
it this? Is it this? And then this is it. And then I get a picture or sometimes I get a name and I don't have a picture. And it's like, and then I get to search like what is it?
Mm.
What is it? And then I get like click, this is it.
Right. And
And
so you might not necessarily know what the plant is until afterwards when you look it up. So you kind
exactly.
of got an image of how many petals it has and its
Yeah, if
stem.
it's yellow, if it's pink, if it's whatever, and then
Mm.
I go look. And sometimes I meet when I'm out walking or hiking, I see plants and they have a message, and then I just receive the message,
Right.
and then I do the Google Lens or something to look
Yeah.
at like what is
Yeah.
that plant actually, and then I can compare like how does the message tie in with what is known about the plant, because that does not always relate, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
always the classic thing that we know about a plant or the way that it is used with the message that it arrives for that specific person, right? That can be
Yeah.
very different.
And I love that you're doing it in this very intuitive way. And I'm hearing what you're saying through the lens of being an intuitive reader myself of tarot initially and later oracles and astrology and so on. And we can be influenced by what other people say. And like you said before, somebody else had written a book and it just seemed so complicated and it didn't resonate with you. And I was very fortunate when I first um, went down the tarot journey. I picked up a book, and the first bit of advice was don't read any books. Just go through
While you're
every.
reading this book,
Yeah,
don't read the
I
book.
know. Well, it's literally the first page. It's like, don't go any further. Don't read any more of this book, but sit with the cards and actually create your own relationship with them first, and then read the books, and then you can see, how actually that's so jaw-droppingly similar, not the same, but there are going to be common threads and places where they're very different. You're getting your own unique download from, and also that relationship with that person that you're giving a message for. It's all
Mm-hmm.
completely,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't have that mental clutter of what you should say,
Mm-hmm.
or what the books say, or what the website says, I mean, it can be helpful, but
Mm-hmm.
I also I'm just sort of picking up on how your scientific background actually really is assisting the process
Oh,
in
it
some
is?
way. Yes,
Okay.
because you're able to then look up the plants. Whereas,
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
you didn't have that maybe research background, you wouldn't really have that ability to quickly identify a plant. So yeah, I'm hearing, what you're kind of like surprised at me saying
Yes.
that, because it
Yeah,
can be a
because
hindrance too,
yeah,
right?
yeah, no, because to me it was such like it was such a huge gap,
Hmm.
right? This really working in the lab as my day job. And
Mm-hmm.
then later, like I think after I did the plant spirit readings, the personal readings for maybe half a year, 9 months, something like that. And then people kept saying, can't you make a podcast? Can't you make a
Hmm.
podcast where you do monthly readings for the month ahead? And I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah. Hmm. And at some point, I started it first only on my website. And after I think maybe 3 months, I put it on Spotify because I just felt like now it's there. And then I have this crazy spiritual plant spirit reading podcast while I work in a psychiatric lab. You know, like
Hmm.
how crazy is that? And I was talking to my team about it at some point because I felt I just had to share this. Like this is part of me that I want them to know. I don't want them to stumble across it and then go, what
What's going on
the
here?
heck?
Yeah.
What is happening here? So I
Right.
had an open conversation with them, which was
Uh-huh.
actually awesome. It was really
Right.
unexpectedly good. It landed very
Uh-huh.
softly. They were very open-hearted and open-minded about it,
Hmm.
as good scientists are. And of
Yeah.
course, I work in a very good lab and a very good group.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
but for me, it was just such an internal paradox because it's really it's such a gap,
Yeah.
right? And um I'm only now, I feel like I'm really closing it and unifying all these things that have come up, and I'm seeing the connections and things moving closer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a very fascinating
Mm-hmm.
journey, right? But
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
So, you did your podcast, and I've seen your podcast. I mean, or
Mhm.
the archive of the podcast,
Mhm.
because you're not currently doing any more, but or maybe you will in the future if it feels fun,
Yes.
perhaps. Because I know that's sort of your modus operandi is to do things with
Exactly.
fun and joy and ease.
Mhm.
As I've been exploring some of your amazing creations, wide ranging, and not just the intuitive, well, I mean, intuitive, but also creative and yeah, just and we could go into all sorts of different directions, but let's refocus it, bring back the plants. Um, so, so you were saying the plants speak to you when you're walking, and I was asking you, where your favorite place to connect with plants are, and you were mentioning your garden, which is lovely that you have. I mean, there's so much medicine in your back
Mm.
garden.
Mm.
Actually, tell me a little bit more about how you play in your garden and
Well, actually,
connection with plants. Yeah.
another interesting thing.
Hmm.
This is also a paradox because I really don't know why the plants chose me as their spokesperson because
Hmm.
I'm such an unlikely person for this, right? From all levels.
Right.
I know nothing about plants, and I mainly like to look at my garden. I like my husband to do the gardening
Uh-huh.
and for things to look nice, but I'm
Yes.
not a gardener. Like
Okay.
I don't enjoy that at
Uh-huh.
depth, right?
Yes.
And I'm not particularly good at it either.
Hmm.
So I just connect with the plants. I just sit there and I connect with them. I go into conversation with them, and I just try to open up to see life through their lens and
Hmm.
and do these things. But I'm not like, yeah, I'm not the gardener.
Yes, you're not the gardener, and since you've kind of opened up to communicating with plants, has it opened up any other kind of relationship with them, or is it just purely a kind of a mind connection? Like, so for example, do you feel drawn to learning more about them, or I mean, I guess you are, by almost
Yeah,
by accident because you're having to kind of look them
exactly.
up. So do you feel like you're actually learning more about the plant world as well, almost sort of
Um,
by the by?
I feel like I am because I do the research afterwards. I try not to
Hmm.
do the research before because
Hmm.
that will like I the way that I see it when I tap into plant communication is like there is this huge field of information, right? And what is known already is, or if I would look this up, it would be a part of that field, right? But if I look it up before, I might be focused on that section, what is already known, instead of being open to the whole rest of it. I might be biased. So I only look it up after I did a reading,
Hmm. Hmm.
and except for some very few exceptions. But through that, of course, I learn a lot more. But what I feel the biggest, most significant difference is that I just see them as sentient beings. Like I really see them as having a soul, as being a being, as like a living sentient being,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that was not the case at that extent before. And also like
Hmm.
when I prepare food now,
Yes.
I get into touch with them and really like lift up their energy, whatever kind of plant that I'm preparing, whatever
Mm.
vegetable or fruit or whatever it is, but really appreciate them like on an
Mhm.
energetic level, on a soul
Mm.
level, and
Mm.
see how that it's just a whole different way of being with plants, right?
Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, that's really interesting to me as a herbalist, because obviously in my training, we've learned their Latin names, we've learned their
Mm.
actions and properties and therapeutics, and how to work with them with different constitutions and things. But you're getting this access to plant knowledge in a whole different way, and a really just sort of, so you're talking about preparing vegetables and herbs and things in your daily cooking, and you're getting information, or like, are they speaking to you, or were you kind of like, say, basil? Obviously, that's a very common
Yes.
herb. Presumably, you're using that in your cooking sometimes. So, do you feel every time you're using basil, you're kind of deepening your relationship with the plant, or tell me a little bit more
Um,
about how that kind of manifests in your day
I
to
actually I haven't done it like that, but I love the
day?
idea.
Okay.
I think I
A
will
new
do
seed
that.
to water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more that I just really appreciate them and
Hmm.
kind of I feel by appreciating them as I do and appreciating the path that they like their life path
Hmm.
that they had until they landed on my table now,
Mm.
and all they went through, and that this is now like by consuming them, I show my full appreciation for their
Mm.
life, for their
Mm.
life's work. And
Mm.
like I know it
Oh.
sounds crazy,
No,
maybe no, but
no. Well,
it's like
you're talking to me, so I
yes,
don't find that stuff crazy at all. Some people might, but I think it's beautiful. And I
mm,
actually think there's a reason that it's you that got the message, but because you are so, or that you've received this gift, because you are so left. Wait, let's get them muddled
left
up.
logic
Left
left.
brain, yes. Um, because that is, there is a kind of dissociation with the other side that maybe people in that community can kind of get stuck into. And so you're bringing this, and as you use the phrase, holding the tension
Mm,
within your community as this kind of torchbearer for the
mm.
other side.
For both
um
sides,
for
actually.
both,
Yeah.
yes, for both sides. Yes, yeah, I love that. And I do think the so-called woo-woo spiritual world can benefit from that more discerning, more structured approach as well, and that there
Mm,
can be resistance to that from that side.
mm,
So I really appreciate that too, because I seem to have a bit of that. I think I shared with you in a message or in a previous conversation that I had done my herbal medicine dissertation, and I decided to do a triangulation study, which is basic qualitative and quantitative, and make my life incredibly difficult by basically doing two
So, sounds like a
dissertations.
fun idea.
Sounds fun, but is like pretty much double or triple the work because you have to then integrate it. So
Mm,
yeah, so I really relate to the tensions that you have been going through. And I wonder, because you said so the kind of maybe it stopped becoming fun because you're sort of having to produce this
mm,
monthly podcast,
mm.
but it's revived. I mean, how long is it? When did it? So it was a couple of years ago that you kind of got into it, and then you got onto the podcast, and you let that go for a little while. So how long has it been sort of lying dormant, shall we say?
So I think I did the podcast for about a year. Maybe
Uh-huh.
I feel it was maybe even exactly a year.
Mhm.
And when I like the last two, when I recorded them, I really had to tune in and I had to ask like who is coming up for this month? Like who wants
Mhm.
to, and I really had to, it felt like I had to coax the plants out. They were not
Right.
coming to me, right?
Oh. Mhm.
And it just felt like this has some should energy in it,
Mhm.
and I don't like I don't connect to shoulds,
Yes.
and so I was like, okay, then this is just not the time for it anymore.
Mhm.
And so I hibernated it on my website and turned it into like an oracle deck. So you could see, which plants, and it's
Yes.
exactly the podcast. So I didn't do any editing, or it's really what it was before. And I feel it's been in hibernation over a year, something like that. And I
Mhm.
also took the personal plant spirit readings of my website. It was just not alive anymore. It didn't
Right.
have energy.
Yeah.
And then when I met you, it was so interesting because I had just gone through this whole rebirthing phase of my business, and found like I've always detested niches and niching down and excluding people, and like this felt, because when I work with intuition, I can help, we can tune into anything. Like I use it for my kids, I use it for my mother, I use it for myself, like any age group, any situation, any challenge you have in life, you
Mhm.
can address with intuition,
Yeah.
obviously, right? So it felt like why should I exclude somebody? But now I finally did find a niche and I'm very excited about it. And it's for career transitions, because I went
Okay.
through an internal career transition in my lab job,
Mhm.
and it was such a tiny switch that created such a massive effect and impact that was just mind blowing, and it was such a tiny thing.
Mhm.
And I thought I want to enable people to do that, because
Mm.
life can be so hard when you're in the wrong job, when you're doing
Yeah.
something that you're not meant to do, that your system is not meant to do, or maybe you've already realized that and left the job. Maybe you're in that transition phase already. Anyway, so I had this new offer. I'm super excited about it. I started um getting free case study clients,
Mhm.
and I think it was just before I got the first case study clients that I met you, and
Mhm.
we were talking about the plant spirits. And suddenly, when I signed them up, like the plants dropped in like this, and I was like, "Oh no! Like these people
They're
are not
back.
woo woo.
Oh.
How do I like
Yeah.
how do I do this? Like how do I don't think they're open for plant spirits,
Mhm.
And the plants were like, yes, they are.
Okay.
You need to tell them. And I was like, so I have this thing. I have this plant that wants to talk to you.
I love it.
It's a little bit embarrassing, but it all landed super well. Some with a bit
Yeah.
of resistance. There was some
Mm.
back and forth, but
Yeah.
it's yeah. And the funny thing is now they come super concise. They come super
Mhm.
short in
Mhm.
comparison to what they used to be. They like
Mm.
it's super short, and
Yeah.
they always come with a way of how to connect with them. And that
Mhm.
will be different every time. At least it has been. And yeah, it's just fun. And it's always attention because now I also have that expectation when a new client comes in,
Hmm.
I need to have a plant spirit waiting for them. What if not? You know?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I don't make a big thing of it. So
Yeah.
I can see, if a plant drops in, it drops in. If
Yeah.
not. Maybe it drops in at a later point. I
Yes.
had one that dropped in after a couple of weeks only because it
Hmm.
was not time. And one that dropped in for a client that turned out to not be my client, actually. So
Hmm.
it's yeah, I just like to leave it flexible. And actually
Mm.
one dropped in for you as well.
I'd love to hear if there's a plant wanting to speak to me. Yes, I'm very open to that. Thank you.
I haven't received the message in full yet, so there is
Okay.
some tension about it.
Okay.
But it landed very distinctly, and
Mm.
it landed in two forms actually, which I haven't had before.
Mm.
So, and I'm glad it landed last night already, that I had the chance to look it up.
Mm.
But it's also on my podcast. It was
Okay.
one, but I didn't listen back to that, so I don't know what message the general
Yes.
message is. But what landed for you is the elderberry.
Mm.
And it landed as the flower where you can make the syrup from,
Hmm.
and as the fruit, right? So in
Hmm.
both forms. And what is obvious to me about this is that I receive the messages and pictures and I unpack the pictures, right?
Yes.
Um, and so what I'm getting is that the flower is about the beauty and the joy of life, and that and really for you to soak up the pure awesomeness of being alive. Like it's one big party in many, many ways, right? And oh, and now, yeah, and I'm seeing this contrast that we all experience, but maybe you experience even stronger for which reason or other. This contrast, not just in color of the white flowers and the dark berries and this yin
Hmm.
yang
Hmm.
interplay, and and also like the syrup that we create from the flowers that we put into champagne or
Hmm.
these fun drinks,
Yes.
even anti-alcoholic ones, but
Yeah.
and then the syrup that we create from the berries that is more tart,
Hmm.
and that itself is a contrast as well. And one brings just so much, like brings healing in form of joy, and the other one brings healing in form of nourishing your immune system and really boosting that and all this.
Mm.
And so what I'm getting is that this plant is really about you tapping into the many ways in which your gifts can heal the world, can heal your clients, and healing to me always has this connotation of something being sick, being broken, being,
Hmm.
but it's not that. It's actually what I'm getting is it's not about fixing something, but it's about lifting something even higher. Like it's good already, but it can be even better. And that's the healing that takes place. Like you take them to a soul level. Like, this is
Amplifying.
exactly.
Yeah.
And what I'm also getting, because in English it's called elderberry, is
Hmm.
that in German it's Holunder, which yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what that
Okay.
means, but
Right.
elder to me just has this connection to ancestors also,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And that there's a lot of ancestral knowledge that you might be aware of or not within you, also intuitively, that you have access to, that you bring into this. Like this is what the oomph, like like your ancestral knowledge kind of amplifies this even more, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It resonates with me in lots of ways. And I'm glad that we've recorded this so I can re-listen to it and kind of go into it deeper. I have been working with elderflower recently.
Of course.
When I got back from Malaysia, well, actually, while I was still in Malaysia, my mum's home was unoccupied for quite a long time, and there was a leak. So I
Mm,
was sleeping in the room where there's a lot of mold. So there's a lot
mm.
of so I was experiencing a lot of upper respiratory kind of blockages and sneezing and so on, which elderflower is excellent for
Wow.
anti-catarrhal. So I've been using it for a kind of remedial
Wow.
effect. But I
Mm.
love that you reminded me of the celebratory, the kind of that midsummer bloom
Mm.
celebration
Mm.
element of it, because I've arrived back in Scotland last week after being in Asia for a long time, and that flower and berry contrast reminds me a little bit also of being sort of having my foot in two worlds of like being
Mm.
in the north and being in the south, and kind of moving from one to the other from half the year to the next, and also being half Indonesian and half Scottish. I'm half Asian,
Mm.
half European, so there is this kind of dark and light.
Mm.
But and in fact, my name Fiona means fair or light or white,
Wow.
and Morris comes from Moorish, which is like dark
Right.
skin.
Oh my God, I get
So
goosebumps. Wow.
yeah, yeah. So that kind of dark berry and the light white, actually, like my name itself, kind of
Mhm.
is reflected
Wow.
in the reading.
Crazy. Yeah.
Lots of layers. Even the elder thing. I'm My sun sign is Pisces, which I consider the elder of the zodiac, actually,
Mhm.
because it's the final
The
one.
final art. Yeah.
Um, and and it's kind of goes into like the ancestral realms, the afterworlds, the kind of
Mm.
space between that kind of
Yes.
space. And well, all sorts. I can kind of unpack what you're saying in lots of different ways. I
Mm.
also elderberry syrup was a signature recipe that I made a lot of, like during before, when I was still in Scotland. I was making tons of elderberry syrup and people were
Wow.
picking up from my doorstep. And so I
Crazy.
and the other thing that made me smile is what the first thing I did when I got back was went for a little walk to the river, just near my house. It's just 5 minutes walk from here, and there's a little park where people go and walk their dogs. And the elderberry trees right now are like in between flowering and berry. So like the flowers are kind of, there still are some flowers, not
Mm.
many, but a lot of them are like just have turned
Into
into like little baby berries. So they're all like little green berries, like the end of the flower and the beginning of the
Mm.
berries. So we're like right
Mm.
in that in between phase right
Mm.
now, locally where I am. So
Mm.
yeah,
Wow.
so
So it's
thank
like bridging that gap.
Yes, yeah. I've
That's you.
literally landed here while the
Mm.
elderberries are in that kind of
Yeah.
right in the middle of the two phases that you're talking about, full
Mm.
flower and berry.
Mm.
They're like baby berries waiting to ripen, and the flowers that have died back and have become
Yeah.
berries, that sort
Mm.
of transition phase. So thank you for that reading. It resonates a lot. And yeah, so I just want to thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our, I mean, there's so many things. Let us know your website and how to find you, and some of these amazing YouTube channels and
Oh.
Spotify things. Like tell us all the things so people can find you, because there's a lot to explore.
Yes, I do many things. I'm a manifesting generator. I like to do many things because if I
Yes.
do just one, I get bored to pieces.
Hmm.
And it's not for everybody to do many things, but for
Yes.
me it is. And
Yeah.
people try to tell me not to, but yeah. Anyway, so you can find me at chrisbrandwein.com.
Mhm.
If you put that name into Google, you will not find me, but directly to the website, you can find it.
Yes. Right.
And I have a YouTube channel that I self-illustrate that's called a Freak to Genius channel, which is part of my human design also.
Hmm.
And there I just drop things in that I like if I have insights, if I have sudden realizations, if I come across something that I think is awesome but not illustrated, I illustrate because I get visuals. And so it's very simple illustrations, obviously, but
Hmm.
yeah. And then I have a podcast with two lovely co-hosts, Devin and Felicia, called The Journey of You, the Joy Cast.
Hmm.
That's on Spotify. And what else? I also have an Etsy store where I sell some of my illustrations.
Mm.
And I think that's it for now. I'm planning to
Oh,
open two school communities, but not yet.
exciting.
Yes.
Anything plant related?
Well, it's intuition. So,
Ah,
plants might come through,
amazing.
but
Beautiful.
it's yeah, because I'm writing a children's book called Saima, the like a little soul that plans
Mm.
her life before she comes to Earth.
Yeah.
And that's all about intuition also. So
Hmm. Beautiful. Well, I
that will
guess if
have a group.
people go onto your website, do you have an email list or anything like that that people can
Yes, I do
join?
have a
Mhm.
newsletter that you can send up to you.
Okay. Well, I shall link this in the podcast when we post it, and it's the full moon today. So, talk about
So,
amplifying. Yeah, I wish you all the best with your upcoming projects, and thank you
same
so
for you.
much. Thank you. And is there a plant that you're working with at the moment that's kind of speaking to you particularly loudly that is kind of a message for you?
Peppermint actually.
Peppermint. Okay.
Peppermint, because it's
Nice.
like it clears my field very quickly, like
Mhm.
and it really grounds me and settles me, and yeah, I can be all over the place, and when I have peppermint, I'm back here.
Yes, well, that's a good reminder. I'll have to pop a bit of peppermint in my tea today. I think that'll help with the clarity thing that we were talking about earlier. It's a good one for that. All right, lovely. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I will see you around. And thank you everyone for tuning in to the Wanderlust Herbal podcast. And we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.
Bye.